We got a very different view today. Oh, my nose is itchy. Oh, goodness. On request, I am attempting to do an aerial view. I haven't done one of these in a really long time. So I need to do a preamble on this because the reason I haven't done one of these in a couple of years is because everyone freaks out. And I need you to understand that I am being very safe and that, you know, getting on me about coming up on a perfectly flat roof isn't helpful. It's fine up here. I'm not as close as it looks on camera. This camera zooms whenever I hit the record button compared to a photo. And there's also this thing called extending your arm, which means you can be a few feet back from the edge and, you know, okay. And the other thing is, like, if looking down from a high space makes you feel like dizzy or whatever, then this video isn't for you. So if you're a really nervous person that can't handle it, or if it's going to make you dizzy, then check out now and, you know, go look at some of my other videos of the garden. It's fine. So here's what we're looking at. Okay, nice flat roof. Only one story up. The view is extremely different up here. My coffee's on the windowsill. So, here's where you start to think, oh my goodness. No, I'm still 5 feet back. And I'm going to sit when I get closer and scoot up, okay? So you understand, I'm being safe. I don't want to hear about it. So here's the aerial view of the front yard. You can see the road there, and this is where all those wood chips were. And now there's just like a little pile by the retainer wall, which you can't really see through the zebra grass, and all of the elderberry and hops there. And what might, I don't know, I'm still thinking this might be a Caria species hickory nut kind of thing going on there. Just very small and very suckering, but then again, I've kind of been coppicing it, so meh, whatever. Yeah, the view up here is different. You definitely higher up enough that there's a lot more river down there. This time of year, though, you still can't really see the highway through the trees. There was a bug on me, sorry. There, just shy of the river, there's train tracks, and just shy of that, there's a highway. And then there's a little neighborhood street. They kind of chopped the neighborhood up. They chopped several neighborhoods up for highways in Pittsburgh. And so there's one little street that used to be part of a neighborhood that the highway took over that's left that goes along here. So it's like hill, cliff, backyard of a neighbor, street, one house length, highway, and then a couple of lines of railroad. I think it's 3. You can kind of see a little bit of the railroad right there, but not the rest of what I'm talking about. Yeah, so here's the nursery and the fire pit. And straight down, now I am extending my arm. Straight down, you can see my trash, yay, and this spot where I do some of my seed starting. So that's the front yard. You can't really see much about the cliff from here. All right, I've stood back up. I'm way back on the road, or roof. And so, you ready? It's gonna get scary for you again. I assure you I'm being very safe. We're gonna go up here, we're gonna sit, and I'm way back here when I'm sitting. Scoot a couple times so I can get my arm over. Okay. So here we have the area where there's the raised tires and my retainer wall with the raspberries and the path that goes back to the cliff access. What was the cold frame and some stuff sitting out there. This is one of my enclosed beds, the two main enclosed, well, three main enclosed beds that there's one behind. This used to be a greenhouse, and I am slowly deconstructing it as I'm able, because it didn't serve me as well as I'd hoped. I want to do a house-attached one instead at some point. That was just too fragile and not well built enough. Then apple and pear and the neighbor's hedge and this space in the hedge that I'm filling in, and then it continues forward. All of those spots where I'm going to put the hazelnuts are right along here, and then I'm going to cut back what's behind it as it goes. This here is the first mulberry, and then the native mulberries behind there. And the main deer track just goes like this, and then off behind the tree. So that's how the deer mainly come through my garden. So you can see all of the little amaranths and my pathways and the areas where I ended up adjusting how the water runs along. I've got tomatoes here and runner beans that are doing really well. Yard-long beans that are doing really well back there. The trees are starting to go dormant, but the asters are going nuts, so that's a trade-off. Yeah, so I'm going to scoot back again, and then I'm going to stand up again, and we're going to look at the back. So, I'm going to sit. I'm way back here. Okay. And then take a few scoots forward. My bum's getting damp because the roof is not entirely dry. It was sprinkling earlier. Yeah, so here's the Jerusalem artichoke back here. And then that wood chip pile that I think I want to eventually put an apple tree there. And then my food hedge in the making all along here. So this is that plum tree that won't get taller than the fence because the deer are eating it. And then this is the cherry tree that hates itself. Again, the end of the wood chips is the end of my property. So that garden over there is not mine. This is the two Saskatoons and the cherry that's got the dead man's fingers, so it'll be probably dead by spring. And then this is the Joe pie, which I did take a piece out of, and I sold it. It was nice. Yeah, so asparagus, and then down there, yes, I am extending my arm. Down there, I think you can see the rhubarb, and I still need to set up an overflow for that water tank there, because it's not hooked up, because when it overflows into my basement and floods it. Yeah, so that's a thing. And then the peppers and the onions, and then the food hedge. And then that's the rear fenced-in area that's got the rutabaga and a whole bunch of little baby tomatoes and just a whole bunch of self-reseeding stuff, plus a ton of violets. And there's one hazelnut right there. Yeah. And this is my weed composting system behind here. And this is where the sump pump lets out, and that I've dug it back in so it'll water the garden instead of freeze over the intersection. I think I have neighbors looking at me funny. So, yeah, I'm going to scoot back again. And we'll just go look out the front one more time, because it's pretty. I'm going to hold on to something here. Yeah, so there's an aerial view. And my hope also is that I might be able to get you down here and let you see the progress I made on the stairwell project, because that happened yesterday, in addition to finishing out this row of the nursery. So that's a nice aerial tour. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it doesn't freak you out. If it does, Please don't freak out at me. Thanks. Bye.